And that's where my wife and I are in life right now. Is we got our kids grown, got them out of the house, we had a quick snack, now we're raising our parents. I swear they passed each other in the driveway. And let me tell you something, I thought teenagers were crazy. Teenagers are a piece of cake compared to old people. They're nuts. I was getting my car serviced a while back, and they called to say it was ready. I called my father-in-law. I said, hey, can you give me a ride to the car dealership? On the way to the dealership, he needed to stop for gas. I learned on that little stop that it is possible to wash your entire car with the squeegee from the gas station. And I know this because I sat in the passenger seat and watched him do it. Well, I sat there until the guy at the next pump started videoing it. Then I slid down in the floorboard because I didn't want to get tagged on Instagram. He got back in the car. I said, you do realize the gas station has got a car wash right there? He goes, yeah, well, that's $6. I'm like, so to save $6, you gave away all your dignity and washed your car with a squeegee and the dirtiest water on the planet Earth.
One of the most recent trips to Louisiana, we went down, my wife's cousin got married in Baton Rouge, and so we went down for that wedding and the rehearsal dinner at Hooters. If I'm lying, I'm dying. And our waitress that night was qualified to work there. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure she was on a scholarship. First time she walked up to the table, my wife's Uncle Don looked at her and went, woo, woo, where'd you get them things, girl? I thought, oh, she's going to get mad. And she didn't. She was very cool. She said, I bought them. Well, then Don's wife, Lois, said, you know, I've been thinking about buying me some. Don turned to Lois and said, you are 62 years old. You getting a boob job would be like hanging a new chandelier in a haunted house. This is the blood that flows through my children. And when we went to the wedding, we stayed with my wife's mom and dad. In fact, we spent 5 days with my in-laws, which on life's list of fun things to do comes in right below sitting in a tub full of scissors. And everybody here has family like this. You have people in your family, you love them. You love them to death. You just don't do real well when you have to share the same house because your lifestyles are different. And that's the case with my in-laws. I mean, they're getting on up there. They're in their golden years. And see, I'm out late at night doing this kind of thing. And bless their heart, it's all they can do to stay awake through the Wheel of Fortune. You're at their house, you watch American Idol, you feel like a hellraiser. It's 9 o'clock, we're still up, we're crazy! But because they go to bed so early, they get up early, which is fine. If like normal human beings, they drink coffee and read the newspaper. That's not what happens in the nut house. My father-in-law, who is retired, who has nowhere to go, gets up at 5:45 every morning of his life. He walks straight into the den and starts watching the Discovery Channel at a volume normally reserved for movie theater sound commercials. So you're lying in bed. The sun has not thought about coming up. All of a sudden you hear,
like other predators of the plains, the jackal subdues its victim by clamping his neck and slowly squeezing the life from his body.
You're in the bed going, you know what? That ain't a bad idea. And it's a weird sensation to be mad and learning at the same time. Second morning we were there, I learned everything there was to know about the African willow fly before I had even peed. You know that fly only lives 28 hours? That's his entire life, 28 hours. I'm lying in the bed thinking, boy, you only live 28 hours? You can't afford to have a bad day. And what happens if you get involved with a girl that wants to take it slow? Honey, we're going to be dead in 3 minutes. Spread your tiny wings and fly away.
And we always have to sleep on the fold-out couch at their house. Boy, that's a good night's rest, isn't it? Got that one iron bar under your skull, one under your pelvic bone, that last one under your ankles. Sleeping on that thick, thick mattress. I've eaten bologna thicker than the mattress on the fold-out couch. And boy, they keep that house a little warm. The inside of their house is about the same temperature as the bottom of a rocket when it's this high off the ground. And they walk around in sweaters. Is anybody else cold? Is it just me? Is anybody else cold? Hell, I'm naked on the tile bathroom floor, gasping for air. Well, I remember when I was in the 4th grade and the firemen visited our school, they told us that's where the last oxygen would be, right there next to the floor. I'm in the bathroom so long, my mother-in-law's beating on the door. Do you need a Correctol? You eat too much cheese. And I'm not making fun of old people. I'm not. Because I really do believe that's the goal of everybody here tonight. We all want to live long enough to someday be an old person. I do. I not only want to be an old person someday, I want to be a burden to my children. Oh, I know the day's coming. My kids are going to be on the phone with each other going, it's your turn to take Daddy for a while. Oh, he's making those noises. He doesn't even know he does it. If you don't come get him, Todd and I are going to get a divorce. It's going to be your fault.
And I miss my youth. I miss my young body. I would not trade my old mind and soul for it, but I do miss my young body. I remember being a little kid and having energy to burn. When was the last time you had excess energy you needed to burn off? But think about when you were a kid, you had so much energy, you couldn't watch TV just sitting in a chair. You had to stand on your head or be half on the chair and half off, and the commercial would come on and you'd wrestle with each other until the show came back. Hell, if you walked in my house now and you found me watching the TV with my butt on the sofa and my head on the floor, call 911. Because even if I am still alive, there's no way I'm going to be able to get back into a standing position by myself.
When the girls were little, I had latches on cabinets to keep them out of the dishwashing detergent. My parents gave my brother and I a chemistry set. And Mom, Joey put ammonium sulfate in my eye. Tell him I said stop. You boys go play with the wood-burning kid. Better yet, go outside, get on the mini bikes and shoot the BB guns. Just a different world. Even the way we treat our kids' pets has totally changed. My daughters had this hamster, little white hamster. His name was Herman. And one day Herman's hair started falling out. A lot. And my wife got very concerned. And she said, you know, I think we need to take Herman to the vet. I said, baby, Herman cost $5. Perhaps it's time we let Herman loose out in the woods. Born free. And she started getting mad at me. And I said, let me tell you something. I said, when I was growing up, there was no chance. We had a $5 pet that was going to see the inside of a veterinarian's office. Very few of our pets went to the veterinarian. You know what happened to our pets? They ran away. I remember one time my brother and I found this dog. We brought him home and the dog barked all night long for the first 3 nights we had him. Then on the 4th day, while we were at school, he ran away. We had a cat that started climbing my mother's curtain. She ran away. I remember having goldfish that ran away. But my wife said, oh no, Herman is our pet. He's our responsibility. I'll take him to the vet. And she did. She took the $5 hamster to the vet. And $65 later, Herman's hair is still falling out. Herman looked bad. Herman looked like Edgar Winter on Rogaine. Yeah. And I said, $65? Hon, we could have bought 13 new Hermans for $65. I said, when your medical bills are 13 times what you're worth, either you are really, really cheap or you are really, really sick. I said, put it this way. I said, let's say your grandma went to the doctor and they told her it was going to take $13 million to make her well. I said, you cannot look me in the eye and tell me there's not a chance. We'd be calling the kids downstairs going, girls, sit down. We have some bad news. Meemaw has run away. People start to laugh at that one, and then they feel bad about that. Oh, because you picture your grandmother in the woods. Is anybody else cold? But they have a rule in my neighborhood. If you walk your dog and your dog does his business in somebody else's yard, you need to get a little plastic bag, pick it up, and dispose of it. And I know the dogs are confused. The dogs are like, wait a minute, you're taking it back home? Why did we have to walk 3 blocks? I could have pooped in the living room, saved us both some embarrassment. What a stupid rule. Why would they have us pick it up? It's fertilizer. It makes the grass grow. Lord, it's not like some child is going to step in it. A kid hadn't played in the yard since 1982. You know what's sad? We have an entire generation that has no idea how to get dog poop off the bottom of their shoe. But when I was growing up, we played in the yard every day, and every day somebody stepped in dog poop. And when it was your turn, you knew what to do about it. You would hobble over to the curb and scrape the biggest part off on the edge of the curb. Then you would find a puddle and you would swirl the bottom of your shoe around in the puddle. Then limp over to the grass and do the brush stroke back and forth. Then you would find a little bitty piece of stick and you would sit down on the curb and you would pick it out of the zigzag pattern on the bottom. Then you wore those shoes to church the next day. And nobody in that church knew you'd stepped in dog poop. See, when it comes to technology, my wife and I laugh about this because we're in our mid-50s and my wife says we are the bologna in the technology bologna sandwich. We're right in the middle because our parents can't text and our children can't write. My kids don't even think you need to study. They're like, Dad, if you want to know something, you just Google it. And to a point, they're right. I mean, when I was growing up, if you were watching TV and somebody said, what was that guy in? You'd go, well, he looks familiar. That was it. Now you're watching TV, somebody goes, what was that guy in? Somebody goes, he was the janitor on Joey. Of course he was. But I try to tell my kids, I said, yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can learn from Google. I said, but there's just as much stuff you can't learn from Google. You only learn it from life experience. You'll usually learn most of it the hard way. It's stuff that's not Googleable. I don't know if that's a word. But I call them the facts of life. It's stuff you can't Google. Like this, fact of life. If you are trying to get to the bathroom in an emergency situation, it is not a wise idea to unbutton your pants in transit trying to save a couple of seconds. Because the muscles that guard the floodgates will interpret the unbuttoning as the signal to abandon their post. And the 2 seconds you saved on the button are nullified by the hour and a half you spend mopping and doing laundry. You only learn that the hard way. Fact of life. If you are going to see a scary movie at the movie theater, it will be much more entertaining if you can find a seat directly behind a group of black women. Because not only will you get the scary movie, you will also get their running commentary of the scary movie. Oh, look at this. She running around in her panties like that. Girl, put some drawers on. and put that hair up before he snatched that weave out your head. Now, can you see this girlfriend? She going back in the house. No, she going down to the basement. Girl, get your shit and get out there now. Fact of life, women always have more questions than men have answers to. Great example of this. 6, 7 months ago, I get a text one day. The text says, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck. I walk into the kitchen where my wife is. I said, hey, I just got a text that said, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck. She said, was he driving? I said, I don't know. I just got a text that said, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck. Were Carol and the kids in the car with him? I don't know. I just got a text that said, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck. Were the people in the other car hurt? I don't know. I just got a text that said, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck. What hospital did they take him to? I don't know. I just got a text that said, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck. She said, well, you don't know anything. What do you know? I know you need to pray for Tom. I just got a text, said he was in a bad wreck. That's all I got. I ain't holding anything back. That's it. People pointing at each other here. But you know who's smart? And Doc, back me up. Kids are smart. I mean, that's why the 5th graders show work. Kids today, they're so much smarter than we were. I remember my oldest daughter, when she turned 5, she wanted a computer. She's 5 years old. We get a computer. She can use it. I mean, 5 years old. Remember what we got when we turned 5? Little wooden paddle, rubber band, red ball on the end of it. That was a brain builder, wasn't it? 1, 2, 3. You'd hit it about 4 times, the rubber band would snap, the ball would fly across the room, break something, you get a spanking with the paddle. No wonder we turned out this way. It's a different age. It's like my daughters, every toy they ever got had some tag in it showing you somebody had inspected it to make sure there was no possible way a child could hurt themselves playing with that toy. Hell, I remember being 9 years old, my parents bought me a wood-burning kit. Oh, what could possibly go wrong with a toy like that? A sharp metal stick that heated up to 5,000 degrees. And let me tell you something, our dogs and cats didn't have a little tag around their neck, but everybody in the neighborhood knew who they belonged to. Yeah, the Circle F brand, that's a Foxworthy cat right there, right? Who had a wood-burning kit? Probably a lot of guys. Remember how long the cord was, the little curly cord? The cord was about that long. So you're always guaranteed to be in right next to the drapes while you played with it. Did anybody have the swing set? My parents were too lazy to actually dig a hole in the ground, go buy a bag of concrete and pour it in. So we had a swing set. Anytime you swung above this high, the legs of it would go whoom, whoom, whoom. There were stuntmen that would not swing on our swing set. And I'm pretty sure my dad had a few beers the day he put it together. Because at the top of the sliding board, there was this big bolt. And I'm sure it was supposed to have gone from the inside out. But ours went from the outside in. And every summer, every kid in the neighborhood had a pencil-thin scab from their ankle all the way up the back of their hiney. Think back to the toys, lawn darts. Lawn darts, 12-pound darts. You could kill an elk with a lawn dart. And there were no directions. They came in a box of 8. We used to pull them out of the box, throw them straight up in the air. You catch one of those with your head, you're getting coloring books for Christmas the rest of your life. And to this day, my mom gets upset if she sees me take a sip out of a beer. But when I was a child, she bought me model airplane glue by the bags full. I'm in my room trying to build models. I'm higher than AC/DC on the opening night of a new tour. Finally get the model put together, then my dad would give us firecrackers to blow them up with. And we knew they were safe because we had to drive across the state line to buy them from a man that had 3 fingers. Not on each hand, total 3 fingers. That's a good firecracker right there. You'll like that one. guy can't operate a Bic lighter, but he's a demolitions expert.
So I'm a bow hunter. I'm a big outdoor guy. I bow hunt. I like to fish. I look for arrowheads all over the country. I love being outdoors. So I'm on a bow hunt in the Northwest Territories of Canada, 30 miles south of the Arctic Circle. And anybody that says we're running out of places for people to live has never been up there, because it's like the moon. There's nothing. I mean, we were staying in this little, we got dropped off by a float plane, and we were staying in this little lean-to down by a lake. But to hunt these caribou, they lived up above the sheep. I didn't know that. I thought, caribou, I've seen them on TV. They go in herds of thousands, and you just hide behind a rock and shoot one. Hell no. They're up there above the sheep. And I'm like asking the guide, where are we going to go? He goes, well, see the top of that mountain? I'm like, oh, no, really? He goes, no, the mountain past that. That's where we're going. So you just walk your butt off. So the first day we go up there, and it seems like we walked forever, and we found a few caribou, but none we wanted to shoot. So we stay out there glassing all day, and at night we're walking back. And I mean, we probably walked 10 or 12 miles. You know, you got these backpacks on, you're carrying your bow, and you're dead tired. And as we crest the hill down in the valley, I can see the lake where our lean-to is. And our guide's like, come on, we're going this way to the left. I go, dude, no. I said, we can cut straight down through here and cut the distance in half, and we'll be back at the lean-to. He goes, we could, but that's where all the grizzly bears live, is right down in that valley. And I'm like, why don't we go this way over here? But I learned an important lesson in that is don't guide the guide. Don't guide the guide. He's the reason you paid him to be there. Well, it was the same thing in my life. I didn't have a great father modeled for me, but that didn't mean I couldn't be a great father. What I needed to do was to find guides. And so I would look at guys that I knew that were great dads, and I would just pick their brains. I'm like, tell me, how do you be a great, I don't know. Tell me how you be a great dad. I would find guys that were great husbands. And I'm like, tell me how to do this. You know, every guy in my family has been divorced for the past 7 generations. How do I be a husband that doesn't end up like that? And you know, one of the things that I learned, and that's why being authentic is so important, because you're not just being authentic with other people, you got to be authentic with yourself. You got to be authentic and tell yourself, hey, this is where I know that I've got a blind spot, or I got a weak spot. Because mine was never alcohol. I mean, I don't have anything against it. It doesn't do it for me. I'm just not a big drinker. It's never been drugs. I'm not going to tell you that I haven't tried things way back in the past, but that never did it for me. But like my dad, I have always appreciated a good-looking woman. So like when we were doing the blue collar tour, and this is going on, I've done stand-up for almost 40 years. This has always been the way I do it. But I knew out of the things that get men in trouble, that's where I was vulnerable. The other two, I wasn't going to go out and do heroin. I wasn't going to go out and get blackout drunk. But I like a pretty girl. So when we would do blue collar at the end of the night, we'd get through with the show, and the other guys would always go out and hang out at a bar, and they would go, Fox, come on, then let's go have a beer. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to go back to my room and order room service and call home. And it wasn't that I thought having a beer was a bad thing. Not at all. Here's what I knew. I knew Jeff, not being a drinker, if he had 1 beer and we were having fun and laughing and cutting up, I'd probably have 2 beers. And if I had 2 and we're still laughing and drinking and cutting up, I might have 3 beers. Well, now, Jeff's getting happy, and all it takes is somebody in a low-cut dress that smells good sitting down next to me, and I'm going to start flirting with her, and I'm in a really precarious situation where I can do the same thing that my dad did. And so I'm like, be wise. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're going to be vulnerable. Because if you break that thing at home, you can glue it back together, but it's never the same. It's never going to be the same. So be wise and don't put if your thing is alcohol, don't go out to the bar. It's going to get you in trouble. Be honest with yourself. All of us have weak spots. All of us have blind spots. But be wise enough to avoid those spots. Because here's what happens. Trust, and you know this with your friends, trust is built, it's like a cup of coffee. You build trust one drop at a time. When you meet somebody, you don't know nothing about them, you have no trust. And then you'll go out and you'll do something together and you go, I really like that dude. And you got a couple of drops of trust in there. And then over the months and over the years, that cup fills up one drop at a time and it's full. But when you break trust, it's like breaking the bottom out of that coffee cup. You don't lose it a drop at a time. You lose it all at once. And when you lose it, it never comes back the way it was before. And so for me, yeah, I like a pretty girl, but I didn't want my kids to look at me that way. I didn't want my kids to look at me the way I would look at my dad when he was on marriage number 4 and we'd go out to eat somewhere and he'd start flirting with the waitress and I'm like, holy crap, here we go again. Because he may end up leaving me at the restaurant and leaving with her. That's, he was good. He was really good. You see a lot of things in airports. They tell us now the economy's bad. You see it in the airports. Because everywhere we go now, all the rental car places are selling the used rental cars. And I have driven some bad vehicles in my life. I have never been so desperate for an automobile, I wanted a used rental car. Because you know what people do to rental cars. My mother will not drive 55 miles an hour. You put her in a rental car, she's doing donuts in the grocery store parking lot. Buying a used rental car is kind of like going to a house of ill repute looking for a wife. Anything that's been driven that hard by that many people, you really don't want to put your key in it. Well, there's no incentive to take care of a rental car because if you pay the extra insurance, you can total that rental car and they'll bring you another one. And I recommend, always get the additional insurance. They're like, Mr. Foxworthy, would you like the additional coverage? I'm like, yes, I would. Because you got a Ford Fiesta that's about to see more airtime than a skateboard at the X Games.
Show. If you weren't doing this, what job do you think you'd be doing?
I hate it when my mother comes to the show. I hate it.
I don't know what, I'll tell you a job I think I might be qualified to do. I was doing a show 4 or 5 months ago in Huntington, West Virginia, and as I was flying in, we had to divert because the plane in front of us skidded on the runway because he forgot to put his wheels down. It seems to me that ought to be on the checklist somewhere. But they diverted us to this airport in Ashland, Kentucky. It's the tiniest airport I've ever been to, and then the guy that was supposed to pick me up couldn't find the Ashland airport because if you get behind that bush, you can't see it. You can't see it. So I sat there for like 2 hours with the 2 guys that work there part-time, and you think I'm making that up? I'm not. When they're not cutting grass, they do the thing at the airport. So, and I asked them, I said, what is the most exciting thing that's ever happened here? And one of the guys said, well, last year a goose flew into the windshield of a Cessna. And I said, really? I said, did it break it? And he said, no. He said, them windshields are tough. He said, you know how they test them? And I said, no. He said, they shoot chickens out of a cannon at them. And I was thinking, I remember career day in high school. I remember plumbers, I remember lawyers. I do not remember a booth where you could sign up to shoot chickens out of a cannon at the windshield of an airplane, because there would have been a line at my school to do that.
Think about the men in your life that you look at and you think, that's the kind of man I want to be. Might be an uncle, might be a grandfather. I was lucky. I had a really good grandfather. Never told me he loved me, but I know he did because he took me everywhere he went after my dad left. But you look at the men in your life that you go, that's the kind of man I want to be. And I will be willing to bet you every single one of them was not a self-focused person. I bet every single one of them was others focused. They didn't think about what they wanted. They thought about what other people needed. I grew up in Hateville down by the airport. I was really lucky. That was the only Chick-fil-A in the world for decades. Had no idea it would become the phenomenon it was. But I was lucky to grow up around Truett Cathy, who started Chick-fil-A. And Truett was one of the wisest men I ever met. And he used to ask me when I was a little kid, he would look at me and he'd go, Jeff, you know how to tell when somebody needs encouragement? I say, no, sir. He goes, if they're breathing. He goes, everybody needs encouragement. It doesn't cost you anything to give it to them. No schooling, no money. And so I learned at an early age, be an encourager. If you walk into a place and the homely little girl running the cash registers there, go, oh, I love your hair. That's so pretty. Doesn't cost you a thing, made her day. Made her day that somebody saw her, that somebody noticed. And so my whole life, I'm like, crap, Mr. Cathy, that's a great thing. And what it does is it teaches you to see the good in things instead of the bad in things. You know, being a mental guy, when I get up in the morning, I pray two things to God. I'm like, hey, let me put on the slippers of gratitude. Let me not take for granted that I have something to eat, that I got a house, that I got a bed, that I got a car. 5% of the people in the world own a car. If you own a car, you're in the top 5% of the world. Something like 11 billion people will never take a hot shower one day in their life. If you took a hot shower today, you beat those 11 billion people. And so you start looking at those blessings. You know, you start looking at a holly bush and go, why does a holly bush have red berries? And God goes, I just did it because I thought you'd like it. They look real good against the green. Did that for you. And you start seeing blessings everywhere. That's what being an encourager does. You start seeing the good all around you and just realize just how lucky we are. We had no control over where we were going to be born. We had no control over what the color of our skin was going to be. We had no control over who our parents were going to be. But the fact that we live in this country and we're able to go out tonight and assemble and actually talk about the Creator, there's so many places in the world you can't do that. So we're blessed. We're really blessed. You know, here's the weird thing with kids. They're stinking smart. And it was real funny. Like, my life led me doing things that I never envisioned me doing. For decades, I worked with kids with cancer. My wife and I were the head fundraising people for the Duke Children's Hospital, and I did a ton of things with St. Jude's, and just love working with kids with cancer. There's somewhere in here that makes me want to squeal. So I got invited one day. A guy invited me down to the Atlanta Mission. Well, I'd never been homeless. I never cared about homeless people. That's nasty. That's honest. My care of homeless people was if you came up to my car at the stop sign, here's $5, please go away. And I had a guy invite me to lunch at the Atlanta Mission. The first kid I met down there, 21 years old, in the heart of Atlanta, living at the Atlanta Mission. My first thought, if we're going to be authentic, is get out of here. You're 21 years old. You're healthy. Get a job. His name was Jason. Of course, being a comic and a writer, I want to know everybody's story. I said, Jason, what's your story? Why in the hell are you in a homeless mission? He said, well, it was my mom and dad and me and my brother. And when I was 11, my mom killed herself. He said 2 years after that, my brother killed himself. And it was me and my dad. We were doing pretty good. In my second year of college, my dad killed himself. And he said, I got to where I couldn't feel anything. I could not hurt anymore. So I started smoking crack and flunked out of school, lost a place to live, lost all my money, and I just couldn't hurt anymore. And I'm sitting across from him going, hell, I would have started smoking crack too. And all of a sudden you realize there, but for the grace of God, I'm in a homeless mission. And what I learned over the years, you know, people tend to view them as drug addicts or alcoholics, and a lot of them are, but that's the symptom. If you go back and find out the reason, so many of them had been molested, so many of them had been abandoned, so many of them had, some horrible trauma had happened to them early in life, and the hurt was so bad they couldn't deal with it, so they numbed. And so the guy, I asked the guy, I said, why'd you invite me down here? He goes, I want you to start a small group. There we go again, small group. He said, these guys have chapel a couple of times a week. They've never had a small group. And my dumb ass said yes, which is the only thing we can do for God is say yes when he whispers something to us. I said, and I did say to him, I said, there's almost 7 million people in Atlanta, and you can't find anybody more qualified to do this than me, you know. But I said yes. And I had to, when I first started going, I had to stop at Chick-fil-A and buy them chicken biscuits just to get them to come. I had to bribe them. And it started with me and 12 guys, and over the course of a dozen years, it grew to 32 group leaders and almost 300 homeless guys every Tuesday morning. I would get up at 5 o'clock, which was really hard for me because when you're a comic, you're doing a show late, and because I had kids, I would lease a plane. I spent so much money. I would fly home every night, no matter where I was on the road. If I was doing a show in Minnesota, I'd do it. I'd get back on that plane. I'd fly home. I'd land at PDK at 2. I'd go home. I'd get up at 6, and I'd take them to school. I went through like a decade without sleeping. But when I would do the missions on Tuesday morning, I had to get up at 5 because I had to be at Chick-fil-A at 6:30 and wait for them to unlock the door in order to be downtown by 7. So, and I did it forever. And one of my daughters told me not long ago, I never said anything to the kids about it. She said, Dad, she said, do you know what one of the pillars of my faith is? Is how, without saying anything about it, and I know you were dead tired and you got up at 5 o'clock and you would go get those biscuits and you would go down there and do Bible study with those guys. And she said, I just used to think if there's something that good that you felt that need to share it, that I need to delve into it deeper. So that just became one of the, so it's not just what you say. It's because if what you're saying is not what you're doing, it's hollow. It's what you do. You have to be a guy that lives it out.
I don't know why only rednecks are seeing UFOs. And here's the deal. You got to discount 90% of that stuff right off the top. Because my Uncle Jerry swore they had crop circles in their yard. Then we found out that his wife had called Goodwill and they'd come and got the trampoline and the boat trailer. So, mystery solved. But let's just say for a minute that aliens really are visiting Earth, but they didn't want people to know they're visiting Earth. It makes sense that they would only reveal themselves to rednecks. Because A, we usually live out in the country, so there's not going to be a lot of witnesses. B, we have no credibility with the media. I mean, people might believe a doctor from UCLA if he saw one and said, well, they appeared to be bipods from a hydrogen and nitrogen-based environment whose primary respiratory organ was located within their moist, translucent epidermis. As opposed to Cletus in his overalls going, it looked like a giant booger with real skinny legs. And here's the deal with the abductions. See, rednecks don't get to take a lot of vacations. So if somebody comes around and offers to fly us somewhere for free, we're going. And if you're traveling the universe, who better to have on board than a redneck in case your spaceship broke down? Because we'd have the hood open going, all right, I see what the problem is. Your nuclear fusion doojiggy sprung a leak. But look here, y'all get me a coat hanger, a Mountain Dew can, and some duct tape. I'll get us as far as Uranus. I don't know why, after all these years, my wife continues to ask, what do you want for your birthday? What I always want for my birthday. What's every man on the planet want for his birthday? The same thing every woman on the planet doesn't want for her birthday. Never once has my wife said to me, forget the flowers, forget the presents, why don't you just lock the door and take me to Squeal Town? But it's what every guy wants. You can be visiting your 90-year-old grandpa in the nursing home and be like, happy birthday, Papa. Is today my birthday? Sure is. Well, help me get my pants off. I don't know why a dog can eat its own vomit, gobble up cat poop, and lick its rear end for hours and be totally fine, but if he eats half a candy bar, he dies. They need to renegotiate that one. I have a lot of guys will say to me, man, how you live with all those women? I love living with all those women because I've accepted the fact they just about have got me trained the way they want me. See, a lot of men go through their entire lives never realizing they're being trained. Guys, if you got a wife, a girlfriend, a mother, or a daughter, you are being trained. And just because they ain't using the cattle prod don't mean it ain't happening. I've been married 18 years to an awesome girl. It did not dawn on me until about year 5. She was training me, and I remember the night I realized it. We were both in bed reading one night, and my wife said, I'm hot. And I closed my book, got out of bed, walked over to the wall. I turned on the ceiling fan. I was almost back to the bed, and I went, whoa. I wasn't hot. And I guarantee you the next morning she called her mother and said, Mama, it is working so well. Last night all I had to say was, I'm hot, and he got out of bed and turned on the ceiling fan. And I'm sure her mother said, baby, I am so proud of you. Oh, I'd put your daddy on the phone and let you tell him, but I just said I'm hungry, and he ran into town to give me something to eat. Guys, do you know why they are able to train us? They are smarter than us. Oh, it ain't that big a deal. That's saying you're smarter than a creature that every time it takes off its underwear, it tries to grab them with its toes, flip them in the air, and catch them with its hand. You are smarter than that. It is a good feeling when you catch them on the first try, though, isn't it? Got my underpants right there.
And I don't want to act like I don't know anything, because you don't get to be this age and hadn't learned something. All right, my plane ride out here, y'all got to help me. Because here's the weird thing as a comic. You don't know if something's funny or not until you try it out on somebody. So I was thinking there's got to be some things you do know. So I'm going to call these the facts of life. That's nothing to do with sex, just things you know. Facts. All right, here's a fact of life. If you want the phone to ring, sit on the toilet. My phone won't ring all day long. I sit on the toilet and starts, and then you got your pants around your ankle. And you never make it in time, you check caller ID, it's a toll-free number. All right, here's another one. Here's a fact of life. If you are trying to get to the bathroom in an emergency situation, unbuttoning your pants in an effort to save time is not a good idea. Because the muscles that guard the floodgates take that unbuttoning as a sign to abandon their post. And the 4 seconds you saved unbuttoning are nullified by the hour and a half you spend mopping and doing a load of laundry. Oh, 2 for 2, I'm so happy. Fact of life, the insanity of the person driving the car is directly proportional to the number of bumper stickers on the back of the car. Am I right? Doesn't matter left wing, right wing. When you pull up behind a car with 25 bumper stickers, you're like, somebody's avoiding them at the family reunion, I guarantee you. Fact of life, the more kids you have, the worse your parenting becomes. People with 1 kid are making homemade baby food out of organic vegetables they grew in their own garden. By the time the 4th kid comes along, you're drinking a beer while you watch your toddler pull a milk dud out from under the stove and eat it. Fact of life, the length of a woman's nightgown is directly proportional to the length of her husband's nose hairs. We're a little iffy on that. Fact of life, if you agree to follow somebody in your car going somewhere you have no idea where you're going, that person will run every yellow light and change lanes like somebody on the world's scariest police chases. It could be your 80-year-old uncle. When you agree to follow him from the church to the reception, he suddenly becomes the Dukes of Hazzard. He's like jumping creeks and turning corners on 2 wheels. All right, fact of life. Hopefully this is... See, this is... I just think if my family does it, we're not the only ones, so we'll find out. Fact of life. Everybody on the planet, no matter where you live, no matter how much money you've got, everybody has a junk drawer in their house. Okay, I've never been to your house. Let me see how close I come. Within that drawer, there are an assortment of screws and paper clips, 6 rubber bands, 2 marbles, 5 AA batteries, you don't know if they're good or bad, 10 pizza coupons, all of which have expired, a broken garage door opener, 2 packets of soy sauce, some cough drops, a tube of glue Superman could not get the top off of, and 1 lens from a pair of sunglasses. Good, okay? All right, here we go. 37 cents in change, including a nickel with a hole in it, 3 birthday candles, a checkbook from a bank you used 10 years ago, a combination lock that is locked and you do not know the combination to it, 7 keys that go to God knows what, the light bulb from a flashlight, 6 business cards from people you don't remember meeting, a picture of somebody's gap-toothed kid in a cap and gown, 1 shoestring, directions to a coffee maker you no longer own, a bullet, a keychain your kid made that was too ugly to actually use, 3 Tic Tacs, a piece of string, and a dead roach laying on its back with its feet in the air. Is that pretty close? And there's always like one of those stubby screwdrivers with paint on the end of it too, that you could use if you remembered it was in there, but you never did. All right, here's the last one. Fact of life. Everybody over 50 thinks the world is going to hell in a handbasket. And it's our own fault. Because, and we didn't start out to do this, but we may go down in history as the worst generation of parents to ever live. It's because we have hovered over our kids so much, we've left them incapable of doing stuff. I'm telling you. And kids are great for a comedian because kids are funny without even trying to be funny. My wife and my mother-in-law had ordered bathing suits through the mail order, yeah. So the bathing suits arrived. They're trying them on. My mother-in-law walks out in her bathing suit. My youngest daughter looked at her and said, "Gamma, you shouldn't draw on your legs with a blue magic marker." Needless to say, I had to mop up the milk I had been drinking because it was on the other side of the room, which is pretty good distance through your nose. That's gonna sting a little while.
Would you welcome Jeff Foxworthy? Jeff.
Boy, this kind of caps off the perfect day being back here today. I had the greatest day today. The sun was shining, the birds were singing, the Victoria's Secret catalog came in the mail. A free home-delivered catalog of women in their underwear. God bless America right here. I knew it was coming, too, because the mail was about 3 hours late, you know. Have you seen this thing? Some of this stuff is so skimpy, Victoria doesn't have a whole lot of secrets left. You give a couple of guys one of these catalogs, we're fascinated. Oh, Mike, come here. Look at this. That has got to hurt like hell right there. Like wearing a big string. Seems like every time you bowl, just cut you right in two. You know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, I'd much rather look at the catalog at home than to go into the store. Because if you're a guy, you do feel like a pervert when you're in the Victoria's Secret store. You feel like the girls behind the counter have the sex offender catalog and they're just trying to match your picture out.
Sally, look at the guy with the panties on his head. That is the same guy.
I learned something in the new catalog, too. Victoria's Secret makes men's underwear now. See, I didn't know that. Well, see, my only thought is, please, dear God, keep it simple. Nothing fancy, nothing like those teddies, that combination bottom and top. Can you see men dealing with this? Look, Frank, I'm not saying it ain't pretty, all right? I just wouldn't wear it fishing if I was you. I tried that last month, spent the whole day just cast and tug. Cast and tug. See, and I think my wife is as pretty as anybody in the catalog. Of course, now, she doesn't think so. You know, beautiful girl, you hear her describe herself, it sounds like bearded goat woman from hell. If she looked like that, I'd chain her up in the garage, charge $3 for people to look at her. Now, stand back. This is scary stuff. I'm not kidding. That is my wife. Now, give me the money. See, but she's smarter than I am because she takes so long to get ready, but no matter how late she's running, she knows how to keep me running just as late. This is her best trick right here. When she's putting on this eye stuff, I have no idea what this is, but look. You're not wearing that, are you? No, I ain't wearing this. Just what I'm wearing while you're getting ready. Well, see, being a man, we have no idea what's wrong with it. We'll try on everything we can find. What about this, baby? A sweater and a bathing suit. What do you think about this? Hold on, I got more. I'll be back. And you got to watch out, too, guys, because women will get rid of your clothes when you're not looking. My wife just gave my favorite shirt to the Salvation Army because she said it was out of style. Which is ridiculous because I was watching Bewitched last week and Larry Tate had on one just like that. Me. As little as men know about fashion, girls, you still ask our opinion about stuff. We'll be ready to walk out the door. My wife say something like, honey, which earrings look better with this, the white ones or the black ones? I'm like, oh, boy, I got a 50-50 shot at this. I say the white ones. The white ones? Now I've got to change this blouse. Never leave this. Well, see, I mean, men just don't care as much. Yeah, you never see a guy picking up his buddy to go fishing at 5 o'clock in the morning going, dang, Bill, you ain't gonna wear that shirt with them shoes, are you? It's after Labor Day, for crying out loud. We don't do that. See, and I do believe the sexes are equal, I just don't think they'll ever be the same. Like, great example. Say a guy gets a phone call from a friend of his. He hadn't talked to him in a while. A man will answer the phone and say something like, hello? Wally, you ugly old bald-headed pervert. Where are you, idiot? But you never see women go, hello? Janet, you fat pig. And talking about friends, and women know this, men are like little kids. You can't let us out to play with our friends because we never come back when we're supposed to. Oh, you get 2 or more men together, we can't tell time anymore. Baby, we'll be back by 5:30, 5:45 at the latest. And then we come rolling in like February. See, men know our our friends are going to get us in trouble. That's why they're our friends. I mean, you ask a female to describe a friend, you get an answer like, oh, she's the best. You need to talk to somebody. She is always there. You ask a guy to describe a friend, you're going to get something like, oh, he's a great friend. He'll come get you out of jail at 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, it's not really true, because if he was a great friend, his butt would be in jail with you. Sitting on a cot smoking a cigarette going, she didn't look like no cop, did she?